This conference will now be recorded.
Hello, good afternoon, or good morning. This is obviously training video for the purposes of understanding a couple of the first initial steps. Once more than likely you're either working with your what we call the already convinced clients, or you've done an event and they're coming in for implementation. My name is Carter Wilcoxon. I am the CEO and founder and developer of the Advisor Partner Platform, of which we are getting ready to go through a couple of those steps early on, as I mentioned. I normally do this with our Director of Business Development, Stacy Pearson, but today I'm very, very pleased to announce that I have not only one of our mentors, Rick White, and I'm going to be introducing Rick here in just a second, but I also have our customization specialist, Rachel Keene, who's going to be discussing exactly what it is that she does with your clients through this process. So here, what you'll see on the screen is the whole idea behind making the mechanics and having the cogs in the wheel, of which the advisor partner is really the centerpiece of all of this. We bring the team to the advisor partner for all the implementations. So that's the whole premise and purpose behind everything we developed. So on the screen here, you can see Rachel Keene, who is going to be sharing with you how she works with your clients with customization. But prior to that, what I want to start off with talking about and introducing is Rick White, who has 40 years in this industry. He's very well versed in estate planning. He is our most recent and newest convert and a mentor on the platform. Rick, can you hear us okay?
Yes, great to be with you guys, and this is an amazing system, no question about it.
Well, so Rick, and I appreciate that. I know maybe what we'll do is we'll start off just real quick, just give a little bit of 30,000-foot overview, where you came from, how we ended up meeting, and how you were and why you were compelled, and some of the messaging resonated with you with what it is that we've been trying to develop and refine here at CSI Financial Group.
Well, I've, as you said, I've been in the business for 40 years plus, and very familiar with revocable living trusts and all the associated documentation. Have lots of experience. We even did it in one of my other previous offices under the direction of an attorney. So, in fact, it's a great way to build a practice, which is part of what we're doing here with the training. But I got to tell you, from my perspective as an advisor, having this platform, everything is in it that the client needs, and the system is a very well-oiled machine. And the documents are great, but the ease of working with it, not only for the advisor, once you spend a little bit of time getting onto it, but the clients as well. And I got to tell you, my clients are just thrilled to death with this whole system. All the people that they talk to, as you'll be introduced in a moment, but just having the portability of this thing, which is one of the things that I like most about it, because in this business, a lot of our clients are heading into retirement. And, in fact, a little quick story, we've got one set of clients that they've already referred other people to us regarding this system. And they are literally selling their house. They bought a motor home. And for the next 4 to 5 years, they're going to be running around all over the country, seeing their kids and grandkids. And they love this plan because they can get on it and wherever they are and, make a change or look it up or anything like that, which is really, really neat. So it's a great system, and it's a great tool to help you build your practice if that's important to you, as well as just the well-roundedness of taking care of a client. And because so many people won't go to an attorney you bring the system to them, and it's here's what it does. It cements the relationship with you as the advisor, because perhaps you're handling their money, perhaps insurance and various things like that. But you add this component in, and they'll love you to death because you're making their life easier and taking care of something that they've been wanting to do for a long time, but just out of fear and confusion, really didn't know what to do, and you're providing an easy way to do it.
Rick, that is fantastic, and I couldn't have actually scripted that had I scripted it for you any better. So thank you for a true observation and your experience in this arena. So with that, I'm going to sort of hand it over to you again here in a second, Rick, but this is what you see on the screen here is really where everything starts. You go to this website, mylifecardplan.com. As you can see on here, it's got the big order here button for the estate plan portfolio, which, as you mentioned, is not just the revocable living trust, but all the supporting documents, the eVault Center, the postscript page, everything that you could ever have to make sure that all of your affairs are in order. So from here, Rick, if you don't mind, just talk a little bit about your experience that you've had when the clients come in. Step one, obviously, they've come in, you've probably either had an existing relationship with them, or you're doing some of your classes where they're coming in for implementation. So just talk a little bit about what you do here, and then how we end up handing it off to Rachel, who we're going to be introducing just momentarily.
Sure. So it's literally just go on the platform, mylifecardplan.com, and go down to the order button, and you open it up and simply input the client's information, name, address, and phone number and all that, and dates of birth and so on and so forth, and who they would like to have as beneficiaries, and the name of the trust, which we'll train you on, and then literally scroll down, and they can pick what they want in terms of the type of documentation. So the revocable living trust, of course, all the associated documents are included in that. The medical directives, healthcare power of attorney, financial power of attorney, pour over will, and so on and so forth. And then, if they want a trust for their pet, to provide for their pet, something happens to them, that's there. Medicaid qualifying trust, if that's important. It depends on the client and so on. But everything is there, and including the section where you can and should click the advisor fee and have that included. But the total package price on these things is so reasonable. It's unbelievable. It's thousands less than what they would get, sitting across from an attorney and going through all of that. And it's just ready made right there. And they can give you the credit card, and you complete the purchase, and you're off to the races. And then you schedule the appointments with Rachel, Stacy, if appropriate, the network attorney, and then back to see you after they've been through those three processes. And I'll tell you what, it really, really works well. And these ladies, beginning with Rachel, are my clients. Love them. They enjoy talking with them. I mean, Rachel, you may not have heard this yet, but they're raving about you and Stacy. And so it's a great process, but it's really, really easy for the advisor, and you can hand them off. You schedule, as Carter mentioned, schedule them, get them on the calendars, and you can relax knowing that they're going to be in very good hands.
So Rick, with that, as I've been, talking with new advisors and onboarding them, one of their biggest fears is like, oh, they have to know everything about estate planning, and it's, just the client intake interview is going to take forever, and I got to know all this stuff. suffice it to say, and in your experience, and obviously this is all by design, it was designed where you really do very little of the heavy lifting and let your team that we bring to the table do the vast majority of it. Is that fair?
Oh, it's not only fair, it's spot on. I mean, you can complete this portion within 15, 20 minutes. I mean, it's just that easy. And then let Rachel and Stacy do their part, and they do the heavy lifting for you. And the cool thing is, I know what they're supposed to do. I know what they're doing because of my experience in the business, and they get my unabashed stamp of approval. No question about it.
Well, that's awesome. And as everybody that goes through the on-demand training will learn, and as we articulate what value CSI Financial Group is bringing, everything is calendared. I mean, that's the whole beauty of the conveyor belt process. The next step in that process is the specific trust directives or the customization with Rachel. So with that, I want to hand it over to you, Rachel, and you guys can obviously go back and forth on what you guys have been experiencing with your clients after the meetings, and you just got there giving a very nice accolade to Rachel. So from here, Rachel, I'm going to hand it over to you as far as the customization goes and what it is and how long those interview processes are taking with the clients, where they're doing it from, because it's all about the ease of implementation.
Yes. Hi. Thank you for having me. So when your client comes to me, it's going to be a computer and phone interview. I use a screen share so that I'm inside their trust and they're watching what I'm doing and inputting into their trust. And then I call them on the phone and we have a conversation. And the conversation typically starts in the data entry page that you set up with them in your first visit. And I'm going to go through all that, make sure that they haven't changed their mind on a certain, item. Maybe they've decided to change the beneficiaries, add a grandkid, things like that. And so in order to then make sure that I'm giving them some of the better options for how their estate is going to be conveyed to their beneficiaries, it's very helpful for me to know what a ballpark estimate of their estate size is, and whether or not any of that is in qualified plans. So whether that's something that you provide to me either in an email or in the comment section of my calendar scheduler, that's information that if I need to, I can always ask the client myself. And with that, I can give the client some options, whether they want their estate to go to their kids in increments of 5 years, whether they want their kids to get it all outright, or if they want the money to be held in trust, which helps to keep that money safe from the possibility of creditors or a divorce settlement, which is a real popular option, by the way. I will then go through all of that with them and make those specific trust directives notated into their trust. So typically the conversation, can be anywhere from 60 minutes or 30 minutes to 60 minutes. And that also includes going through their trust and e-signing the whole thing. I'm going to e-sign the actual documents. We're going to e-sign the medical directives. Also, I'm going to go through their funding kit, and I will enter in their home address if they have one, and their main banking information. The rest of the funding kit is up to you, the advisor, but I at least do those few items so that I can make sure that the funding kit is also fully signed with their trust. That way, as you're putting items into their funding kit, everything is good to go immediately. So these are some of the things I do, and I usually am the first person after you that the client has had any interaction with. And it's fair to say most of these clients come in thinking, this is really overwhelming. There's a lot going on here. And in some cases, it's the fact that it's technology. They're used to hearing that you have to go to an attorney's office and that this is supposed to be super complicated and that they're not allowed to touch any of it. And I go through their trust and I show them, how to get around inside of it, how to make some of these changes on their own. And I would have to say 10 out of 10, my clients come back and say, that was amazing. I was really stressed out that this was going to be complicated, and you made it so easy for me. And now I feel so much better about what I have, and I'm more comfortable with this platform. So, it's something that I very much enjoy doing with the client, is bringing them that peace of mind and assisting them in this manner. So typically then I'm going to, at the end of it, make sure that you get an email with the client that has all the forms that they'll be needing to have signed and notarized when they come back for that pre-funding meeting with you. That's typically all I do, and I try and answer as many questions as possible. I don't know, Rick, did I leave anything out, or do you think I got it all?
No, I think you covered the bases pretty well. It's if possible, I think it's handy if you have a notary in the office, and if there's no one else in the office, then I think it's handy to be the notary then, because when they do sign the certificate of trust and the master signatory guarantor, and those are just, to make life easy in the future if they need something on paper to show somebody, then having the notary, right there with the client rather than send them out to the bank or something is, in my view, a lot easier.
Yeah, no, that's actually perfect, both of you. And Rachel, the other thing is that we talk a lot about, even as the conversation is getting ready to start, is really managing from the onset, like what the agenda is going to be, right? Like, so touch on a little bit about how before you even get started, you help the clients realize that, at some point, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, someone's going to have to settle your estate. The whole purpose of this call and this customization is that when the appropriate time comes, we are going to have everything filled out and completed properly with the right documentation. You want to talk a little bit about that as well?
Yeah, so that really is that's the way, I would say it, is that this is something someone else at some point has to manage. And in some cases, that might be a great deterrent for trying to do something super complicated. The trustee is a voluntary position. So your trustee, whoever you appoint, does not have to do that job if you're going to make it really complicated for them. So I try and steer them in the direction of keeping things simple. If you were going to be the trustee, would you want to deal with this? And in most cases, the answer is no. And so I have a wonderful app table that was created that assists me in making some suggestions to the client on what they're talking to me about, their desires for how they want their estate to go to their kids. And so then I can kind of give them some simple options that we have. And now that can always be tweaked to fit their certain circumstances. Most people can all be done about the same, but then there's a couple of clients that they're going to have a unique situation. It might be that he's got kids from a different marriage and she's got kids from a different marriage. And so their situation is going to be a little different. Their directives need to be drafted a little differently. So I go through all that with them and help them to understand that this is something that will need to be dealt with at some point in time. I also make sure that they understand that this is a revocable living trust. Nothing they do in that call with me has to be permanent. They might change their mind on how they want their estate to go to their children in 10 years. Things might change in their life, and so now they might not have certain things they wanted to go to those kids. And it's as easy as going in, deleting that section, and resubmitting the document. It takes all of 2 minutes. So I go through all of that with the client, which really gives them a lot more peace of mind, knowing that these aren't like final decisions they have to make in that 30 to 60 minutes with me.
Rachel, that is absolutely perfect. And I'm getting ready to say something that I know everybody on this call has heard me say many, many times over to that point. And then, Rick, if you don't mind, I would like for you to alternatively talk about what clients have traditionally had to deal with. So we have this proprietary process that we call our 90 and 90 formula, right? The 90 and 90 formula is where we can get 90% of your estate plan done in 90 minutes or less using our team. So the other 10%, as we help to enlighten not only the clients, but also, and that was to your point, Rachel, but also advisors, is that the other 10% is that constant that we all have to deal with for the rest of our lives called change. This platform addresses that 10% of change that happens throughout the rest of your lifetime. So with that, Rick, you want to talk a little bit about, in your experience, on what that potentially would cost, whether in time or money, without having this platform to be able to address that.
Oh yeah, if they did the traditional route with the trust and all the documentation, if they wanted to make a change in the trust, then they have to go back and see the attorney and pay them another fee just to make the change. And you know, that's going to be either a flat fee or an hourly fee, but it still, you know, could easily be several hundred to a few $1,000s. And in this system, it's literally make a notation to the system, and the appropriate person, whether it's Rachel, the attorney, will jump in and contact them, make the change necessary, and voila, like Rachel said, it's a couple of minutes and it's done. And it's just that easy. In fact, the clients themselves can go in and do it, but I always think it's great to have one of the team just kind of looking over their shoulder to make sure the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed, so to speak. So it you know, you're saving your client if you're acting in their best interest, in my view, and you have the opportunity to work with them on this system, then it's almost, you could argue the point, it's a fiduciary responsibility to make it available to them. It's just that beneficial, in my view.
Rick, thank you very much for that. You know, it really was designed for a myriad of reasons, but primarily, you know, when the whole Department of Labor thing started coming out, and best interest and all of the fiduciary goings-ons that were happening, in order to be really considered a trusted advisor, and this is in my humble opinion as well, if you're not having this be a significant part of somebody's planning, then somebody else is going to. So you might as well have the most economical, cost-effective, efficient processes in place, and that's exactly what it is that we've done, and that's all been by design. So, you know, CSI Financial Group has been literally laser focused on helping advisors refine their process, bring to market things that help create that professional contrast, elevate the client experience, and that's why we designed all of this with all of that in mind. So really, other than that, I don't have anything else to say. I think we're right at about 20, 25 minutes of this training. So just know that you have a team of specialists in this multidisciplinary approach that can help you every single step of the way. You got a chance today to listen to one of our mentors, Rick White from Patriot Wealth, as well as Rachel Keene, who is our customization and trust specific directive specialist. So with that, do you guys have anything else that you want to last second interject before we let everybody go?
I just want to say one thing, that for those of you who are now on board with CSI, again, I've been in the business a long time, and I got to tell you, the credibility and integrity that Carter brings to this, as well as the team that he's brought on board, I mean, this guy does everything he said that he would do and more. So you are in a great position. I want to do everything I can to help you, and I know Rachel will as well.
Absolutely.
So with that, I want to bid everybody a good day, whatever that's at nighttime. This is being recorded, obviously, so it'll be here for training purposes. I know that Rachel will add this into the on-demand training that is also been designed for you to, just as I mentioned, it's on demand. We know that you're successful. We know you're busy. Being able to incorporate and implement new processes it can be cumbersome and tiresome sometimes. So your time is of essence, and it's also very important. It's the only thing we're not getting any more of. So with that, Rick White, thank you very much. Rachel Keene, thank you very much. I hope everybody has a phenomenal rest of your day, and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.